How's it going, Jan? Good day, I hope. I've made a little bit of progress between last stream and this stream, at least getting some stuff cleaned up. Um, Most of which is with my database and toml file configuration stuff. So I've defined some toml, um, which I can't show in my dev container here because I don't have the extension installed. Here we go. Yeah. So with VS Code and having some hex strings for color, I can now configure color in my editors, which is kind of nice. But before I do any kind of coding, I did want to show off my WebAssembly build. Just right click on my website and show preview. And we have my game. Oh, I keep doing this. Why does it do this? Running in a browser. Or mostly running. It's not picking up the triggers, but it is picking up the joystick, which is interesting. I'm not sure about what's going on there. The other thing you probably noticed was a little red guy flying across the screen. So I have some data configuration now somewhere under worlds here. I can define entities. So I can copy an entity, paste it. Let's just give it, we can give this a different type, a different classification. So inside our classifications, we have a fighter type, so that's what I'll give it. We'll make it friendly. And we'll give it a, let's give it a different position on the screen. Let's give it a different heading. Except I want to fly it like, let's give it like a 30-degree heading and a 70% throttle. And then I can show my app again in the browser. And we maybe see another guy, hopefully. Crap. That was supposed to work first try. Let's see. Let me make sure. I'm going to delete this directory. Let me make sure it actually installed. Oh, wait a minute. I don't have, I know what's wrong. I didn't have the WebAssembly selected. I need to build WebAssembly. Need to configure WebAssembly. Okay. Now I can build WebAssembly. There we go. Apologies if I was coming in a little low. You got your C calculator to CPAC as a standalone installer without the command chain. That is awesome. You might be ahead of me at this point. I have not ever personally used CPAC to handle installation. Not because I didn't want to, but because the companies I've worked at always had their own installer tool that I had to use with CMake to get all that to work. So you know something I don't know. That's awesome. All right, so now that it's compiled, all I had to do was modify this text file, and then I can come into here, wrong one, and preview my web page again. And maybe this time, second try. There it is. So there we go. I can now add entities into my game without compiling code. Ooh, I mean, I did just compile code, but there's a reason for that. Because the compilation step also does an installation. And so for a WebAssembly, it takes all of my TOML data and puts it in one .data file for the website to load. I swear, every time I start talking loud, my cat shows up. What are you doing, dude? You're ridiculous. You're ridiculous. Insys. Yeah, Insys. I think that's the installer I used, like the install builder I used. That sounds familiar. Anyway, so that was WebAssembly. I'm going to go ahead and pop this back over to Windows here. All right, so yeah, the trigger works. So I'll have to figure out why it doesn't work for WebAssembly, but that's a very minor problem to figure out. But yeah, I can now do that without having to modify code, so that's cool. Come here, I need help. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I don't know if I can show you guys this. Hang on. This is ridiculous. Stand by. Oh, he moved. Never mind. He moved. Oh no. Oh, now he's biting my toes. All right. All right. Before I get into this, let me figure out what he wants. I know what he wants. He wants food. He already has the food. He needs me to walk him to it. Here, come here. Say hi. Say hi. Obligatory cat pick. All right, let's go. I'll be right back. Come on. What do you want? What will the game be about? Do you use WebGPU or WebGL or whatever it's called? So I'm using Raylib, which under the hood is almost certainly WebGL. The game is going to be some kind of tactical situational air combat, top down 2D. I would like to do like a roguelite or some kind of RPG-ish element to it. So you're going to have stats and abilities, spells and items, if you will, but instead of actual spells, it's going to be like weaponry or defensive abilities, that kind of thing. How do you run binaries in the browser? WebAssembly. It's a standard that you can compile your code to. The compiler that does that is called Emscripten. So that is on GitHub. I'm pretty sure you can just Google it. Emscripten. And it basically follows the same command line APIs that GCC has. So in my dev container, I have a Docker file, right? Docker image. And in here is where I find or like download and install Emscripten, so that when I'm in my dev container with Linux, I get access to the Emscripten compiler, so that my CMake preset for WebAssembly just points to emcc++ or emcc. And other than that, you just tell CMake that that's your compiler. Everything else stays the same, and it will compile your binary into somewhere here, into this WebAssembly file. And then Emscripten will also help with like creating a JavaScript call to load your Emscripten binary, and then an HTML page to be like the front end of that binary, if you will, or at least like it's essentially your entry point for the browser. So how do you, so you, like I said, you just need that Emscripten compiler. And then you need a graphics library that supports WebGL. And then, like Jan mentioned, WebGPU is like the next iteration on graphics library. So WebGL would be like your OpenGL type of graphics library. WebGPU would be the essentially the like wrapper around Vulkan, Metal, what's the other one? I'm drawing blank. DirectX 12, that kind of thing. Yes, you can run your C program with SDL in a browser. Yes, 100%. I have done that. In fact, I am doing that in my, so I have open source project. I wouldn't, you are welcome to look at it for like code examples or more specifically for configuration examples, but it's not something I guarantee support. Assuming I remember how to open a browser here. So this project here is using SDL3, right? So I have SDL3, SDL TTF for the text loading, Flex for entity component system, GLM for some math and transformations, and then GTest for unit testing kind of thing. But if you go into here, I support the whole Emscripten toolchain. So when you build with the Emscripten flags, you'll get the binary or like the WebAssembly you need to load the application with SDL graphics inside your web browser. No, it's there's a lot. It's a lot. It's WebAssembly, getting it up and running is a lot. If you're just trying to if you're just trying to build an application, all kinds of frameworks support WebAssembly at this point. So you could just use something and have it automatically generate the WebAssembly for you. I've used Flutter. Godot supports WebAssembly. Qt supports WebAssembly. It wouldn't surprise me if like someone in chat was talking about Rust. It wouldn't surprise me if something like Bevy supports WebAssembly, you know? Interesting you mentioned how a terminal program would work, because I got a Hello World application up and running in WebAssembly, and it all depends on your web page, right? And there's also in the browser you can open up like a console window when you inspect the page, and so your output for your command line would appear in that console. Local send sounds very familiar, but I am not like I've only like heard of it in passing. Okay, so I think for today, I'm probably not going to be on nearly as long as I was yesterday because I am exhausted. But I would like to figure out the camera and try and get my player centered so that I can zoom in and out, range in and range out, and also figure out a way to do that without scaling the actual polygons that are being rendered. I only want to scale the range of everything around the player. So I think that's kind of my goal today. Oh, that's why I've heard of local send airdrop. Yeah, that makes sense. Because I was using, so I'm building a mobile app with Flutter for Magic the Gathering. If any of you guys are Magic the Gathering um, enjoyers, if you will, and so I was trying to come up with a solution that would automatically, at least on Android, automatically like join room to anyone nearby. So like if you had a bunch of friends sitting at a table playing Magic, the app would you just kick on the app and then they would automatically find each other. And so at least on Android, I think Android has an API for like nearby connections, and then Apple has something called multiple peer connections. And so during that research, I think that's when I came across local send. I'll have to look into that. Yeah, I'll definitely have to look into that because I'm trying to find like a clean and easy way to like have multiple devices connect to each other with like minimal input from the user. Because right now, what I have set up right now works on Wi-Fi, and all you have to do is like one person will hit host on their app, and then anyone else on the Wi-Fi, the app will automatically find a room for you to join. I can't really show any of that off right here because it's like you have to have it on multiple devices for it to work. Okay, so this guy exists in world space at 50/50, I think. If we look at my configuration, I didn't really go over this, but last night and a little bit today while I was supposedly working, I started playing around with Tomo a little bit more, and I ended up adding the glaze serialization library to handle Tomo serialization. I don't like I'm still learning Tomo, so I don't know if this is the best way to actually like write it up. But I effectively created a root database level that defines some colors, which are getting here. This will probably eventually move. And then loads like static data and game state data. And so in the game state data, I imagine I will script up a bunch of levels here for different engagement scenarios, that kind of thing. And that's where this serialization will come into play. And so I have a config a config module here that handles all the parsing and serialization of that, which ends up leading to on main, the first thing I do is attempt to load that database file, followed by loading a level, and then that's how we see what is being drawn here. Yeah, I actually tried to use the Rust web GPU implementation. I think it's what's it called, like web GPU native. I started to use that, but like even since I mean web GPU is wrapped around the more complicated GPU standards, so like Vulkan, Metal, all that fun stuff. It's just a lot, and so I ended up scrapping it. You know, it turned into a toy project that I never completed, just to kind of figure things out. What's with the aspect ratio of stream? IDE is unreadable. Where are you viewing it from? Are you viewing vertically or horizontally? There's not a whole lot I can do vertically. I could zoom in, but you lose out on some of the stuff I show. I can play around with that. I'm assuming those who are watching like on like horizontally or in a browser, I assume everything looks fine. Um, can't. It's not even letting me like click on it, and I don't know why. I'm gonna pull it up on my phone here. Oh, that's fair. That is kind of difficult to read. Okay, so what's the best way to do this? Hmm. What's the best way to do this? The problem is, if you're watching vertically, I'm also streaming horizontally, so the only thing I could potentially do is maybe move this in a little. Like that. I mean, that's better. You're just not going to see everything I'm doing, I think. Let me see what it looks like. Did that even change? Now I can't tell. Okay. I think that's a little easier to read. Oh, yes. I am using a 4K desktop. Could that be part of the issue? I mean, I can also do this. It just makes it harder for me to write code, but if it makes it easier for people to read, I can always zoom in on VS Code itself. Uh, that's probably a little easier to read, if I had to guess. Now you guys can't see. Okay, no, you can still see chat or use a zoom on OBS. I can use a zoom on OBS. Okay, guys, I'm still learning here. I didn't even know zoom on OBS was a thing. Hey, Mega, I'm currently working on potentially a game. It's very new, so still kind of sketching ideas out and figuring that out. Most likely going to be a top-down situational aircraft fighter game, RPG-ish, roguelite-ish. Maybe we'll see. We'll see where progress takes me. Is the database a binary file on disk? No, it's going to just be scriptable TOML for now. If speed of loading the file, speed of loading the game or anything like that becomes an issue, I'll consider changing it. But for now, it's literally just text. It's like an INI file. Nothing crazy. And I'm still sketching this out. I'm still trying to figure out how I want to do this. So I just sketched some stuff down just to play with it and get it working in the application itself. Yeah, I was originally using I think the one I was using was called Restream to stream everything for me to the different platforms, but it didn't have the control I needed for some of the stuff I was doing. But maybe that'll change. I'm not sure. This is also like before anyone was watching me, you know. Speaking of, my short is still going strong, and I just don't get it. I don't know why. I wasn't like, it was just fairly common knowledge for C++ developers, but I think it gave a lot of non C++ developers an excuse to hate on C++ more. Which I can't blame you. It's a lot, especially if you're using a language that doesn't require it. It's definitely a lot. Okay, so now that my text editor is zoomed in, I have a little bit less room to see what's going on, but that's okay. So I wanted to explore Raylib's camera. Oh, I figured out why my window wasn't closing instantly, guys. So I'm used to using graphics APIs like SDL, SFML, OpenSceneGraph. What else have I used over the years? I've used so many that I've forgotten half of them. And all of them do the same thing, right? You have a loop that sits and runs indefinitely, usually waiting for the window to close. You run a function to make sure you pull for events, and then you always have that like begin draw, end draw step. Well, it turns out with Raylib, with the intention of making life easier on developers, it automatically calls pull events for you inside in drawing. And so I was essentially like clearing out the event queue, preventing it from determining if it should close or not, which is why I had to keep like repeatedly pressing X in order for the window to close. So now it closes instantly. Oh, and it just occurred to me, if you're watching vertically, you probably did not see my application window, and I apologize. I will work on that right now. Okay, let's see. Let me run that again. My face is gone. Oh, so is chat. Hang on, I'll fix this. We'll figure this out. This needs to go down here, I think. Does that work? I mean, if we're looking at the application, I guess we're not looking at the code. Except if I want to keep it up and running. What's the best way to do this? Take care. Appreciate you coming by, saying hi. Good luck on your project. Oh, OBS is a mess. Hey, ZDev. Especially when you're not like a professional. You know, like all the big time streamers, they just have someone, like they literally just pay someone a full-time job to make sure everything is up and running at all times. That's the dream, right? Not having to deal with this at all. Do you stream desktop and move window in it, or select the application window in OBS and move it? I'm currently streaming a custom scene, not my desktop. Not for any particular reason other than I do use this sometimes for personal, like, you know, banking info and things like that. And I don't want to risk like accidentally leaking while I'm still learning how to stream and like make sure I understand where everything is. There's a lot going on, and sometimes I might just forget or make a habit of like pulling up a website and going into a bank account or entering a password or something like that. Uh, so I can switch to a desktop. See, but then you lose chat because I haven't added chat to my desktop scene, which is okay for me because then it reminds me to come back here. Uh, do I? I mean, I use the STL library, yes. Raylib doesn't. Raylib, I'm pretty sure, is written in C, if that's what you're asking. I also want to add, or I want to move this back to here so I can toy with some other graphics tests as I learn this. Also, for anyone new here, I'm literally like learning how to use Raylib as we go. So if you are a Raylib expert, forgive me. Yes. Yes, sorry. Raylib draws to the window, but Raylib under the hood uses another library called GLFW, which is used to open the windows. And GLFW is designed to open an operating system window for any platform that supports Windows. Windowing, I suppose, is the word to say. So you'll see, like in my project here, when I specify the dependencies that my project is going to use, I have Raylib, and because Raylib pulls in GLFW3, I have to explicitly say for Emscriptum and Android, don't pull it in, because Emscriptum provides its own copy of GLFW3 for WebAssembly, and Android does something completely different, right? GLFW3 is like a C library. It's not a Java library. Okay. So I think from what I was reading last night, there should be a camera 2D. And I need to point it at my player, which I don't really have a way to distinguish between a regular entity and a player right now. But I'm pretty sure it's just going to be the first thing I load. Yeah. So that's entity index 0, or I could try and do the classification. Oh, the LLM is giving me the automatic front entity with current X. Well, we'll try it, I guess. Current X, current Y. I don't know if that's true. I think we're going to need the interpolated position because we're drawing. So I'll just copy that for now. Yeah, I'll just copy it for now because I don't know exactly how I want to organize my code. I just want to learn about this camera. Once I figure out what is possible with this camera, that'll give me a better idea on how I want to organize everything. I also noticed my code is not automatically formatting again, which probably means it's not set. Plain format. There we go. Okay. Okay, so set camera 2D is not an actual function, so the LLM got that one wrong. It's probably draw camera. Is it draw camera? Basic window, delta, input keys, input mouse. I know there was like a 2D camera right here. Begin mode 2D. Interesting. Okay. I can work with that. So we want to be... Oh. Okay. After I look at the documentation, now you know what it is? Are you kidding me? You couldn't have given me that beforehand? Okay. So if this works right, the camera is going to be anchored to the center of my display. Now, realistically, I'm going to have to like handle the display resizing, that kind of stuff. But for now, this is good enough. It's going to follow my player around, which means we should see it stay in the center. So to get a sense of movement, we probably want to make these guys a little more stationary or a little slower. Let's give them like 10% throttle so they can move just a little bit and we can fly around and see them. Okay. First try, right? That's what I always say. Okay. Hopefully everyone sees that. Cool. All right. It is in the center, so that's good. That's promising. Right trigger to move. My turn rate is only like 3 degrees a second, so that's why he's turning really slow right now. But like you can see the red player is moving like at an angle, right? So clearly this is working, which is actually kind of cool. So that's kind of annoying. Let's update the turn rate. I want to be able to like move around the world a little quicker. At least for debugging. So where did I put that? Under system motion, I just gave it a constant of acceleration of 5 pixels per second up to a max speed of 500 pixels a second, a turn rate of 3 degrees per second. Let's do like 10 degrees per second. There we go. So now I can move towards the red player. So the red player is actually moving towards me. So I am moving around my world. That is awesome. But I still turn slow enough. Oh, all right. So if I can turn around and maybe I can catch up to them because they are moving so slowly. Come on. Get there. So this looks like nothing right now, and that's okay. In a week or two, this will look a little more like something. I can't promise what. Hopefully something cool. But yeah, that's working. All right, that's exciting. So the next thing I want to figure out is zooming with graphics only. What I have done in the past to solve a problem like this is I would just I wouldn't touch the camera at all, and I would just create essentially a zoom factor that I would apply to positions, because I want to keep the scale of my entities the same no matter how much I zoom in or out. So let's make everyone stationary for this purpose. Gosh, I will say, if you're like working on your own project, and you're not using a framework or a gaming engine or something, if you can get a little bit of serialization up and running sooner than later, it saves a lot being able to just come in and tweak a file or a setting and then hit play again. Eventually, I think it would be cool if I register a file watcher, and then the file watcher can observe whenever a file changes. So while the application is still running, I can just deserialize or load the changed files, and then just do a comparison and only update anything that's changed. And then I can actively like modify the game as it's playing, which would be I think would be very useful for debugging purposes and prototyping. All right, so everything's stationary. So now I want to test zooming in and out. And I think the way I want to do that is with like the up and down arrow. You found me. Oh no. I'm curious, would it benefit me at all if people aren't aware I have Twitch to like in my YouTube title say like, hey, Twitch, or see me live on Twitch or something like that? I've always been curious about that because I have noticed other streamers do that sometimes. I would love to do music on YouTube as well because I know there's a realm of possibility of doing that, but I also don't want to like risk copyright issues. So it's tough, especially starting out when I have no idea what I'm doing. All right, so I'm just gonna do this inline right here. That feels wrong. I don't want to do it right there. So I am reading state here, input state that is. So this is essentially input handling. And if the up key, I need to know if the up key, I need to know if I have an up or down key. Const auto key up equal. I don't know what song's playing, but this is awesome. Okay, key down, so this is confusing. Is key down, key up? Is key down, key down? Let's see, key down. Does that mean it was pressed and released? Or is the down button being held, or is the button being held down? Because that's a different thing. I need to know if it was like pressed. I bet it's is key like pressed. Is key. I'm so good. Is key pressed? That's what we want. Is key down is like current state. Okay, so if key up or key down is pressed. I actually need to store this outside the loop so I can modify it. Yeah, I'll just leave it there. You know, I tried to set up one of those things where you guys can do like exclamation song to look it up, and I couldn't figure it out. So for now, just ask and I will tell you. Maybe. Actually, why is it not showing what's playing? It is Blue Monday. Blue Monday by Sebastian Baum. Oh, Stream Elements does it? Well, you just taught me something, Chikome, because I was using a different tool to try and do this. So I listen to music through YouTube Music. I don't know what these other tools expect you to listen to music through. So maybe I just don't have anything wired up correctly, or I'm not signed into whatever I need to sign into. Okay. So when I zoom in, so I want to press up, which means my camera's going to get closer to the world, which means we're actually going to scale out, which means the distance between objects increases, which means the zoom value needs to increase, I think. So if key up, oh, well, I mean, if it's going to do it for me. Oh my God. Do you guys think the LLMs can listen to what you say in a mic? It worries me. Except this isn't how we want to zoom in. We want to do like a multiplying effect. Let's do, excuse me, times equal. And if we did this correctly, like you would see in an aircraft, you would go from like 10 kilometers to 20 kilometers, 20 kilometers to 40. It would like double, right? But for now, this is just testing. Divide equals fine. Zoom max of whatever is bigger. 0.1 is the smallest. I'm okay with that. Okay, let's see what happens. If this works, we should see them get closer and further apart. We might also see the polygons increase and decrease. Okay, up arrow. Ooh. Ooh. Can you guys see that? Do you see how small that is? I zoomed way the F out. All right, down arrow. Okay, so that is a much too big of a step. And it is, as I expected, it is scaling the polygons. All right, again. Oh, I zoomed so far in. Oh, that's so bright. So I need to think. I think the entities are too close to each other for what I am trying to achieve here. I'll try one more step back, but I might have to position them further apart. Okay. Let me position them further apart. So I'm actually going to now position the player at 0, 0. So the player will start at the center of the world, if you will. And let's move these guys out 1,000 pixels. Is it easy to learn C++? What a question to ask. I think getting something up and running with C++ is easy. And this is probably going to be true for most languages, especially system level languages, C, Rust, all those fun things. I am speaking from a bias, but the best way I learned C++ was having a boss who was strict with code review. I learned a lot through code review. I went to college and learned C++. You know, I learned how in college I learned, you know, pointers, for loops, if state. I mean, honestly, I kind of already knew that stuff prior because I was interested in programming. But data structures, algorithms, how a computer works at the hardware level. I could, like, when I graduated college, I could write a linked list pretty easily, I think. I felt confident about that when I went into an interview. Like, yeah, I know what a linked list is. They didn't have like leak code back in the day. I mean, you still had interviews where people would ask like, "Hey, how do you traverse? How do you like convert a string from forward to reverse, right? Or how do you traverse both ends of a string? Just like little algorithm challenges, that kind of thing." But once I actually started working, that's when I started learning more about code maintainability, project structure, organization, writing code that is easier for another developer to come in and look at and understand. That's a knock against C++, right? Because there is so much to C++ and so many different ways to solve the same problem with C++. Is you can have a developer who has spent 20 years using C++ and have no idea what kind of code I am writing, right? Because it's so massive what you can do with C++. So many features. What is the linked list? Oh my god, are you giving me an interview question right now? Is this my opportunity to do a coding influencer Microsoft Paint thing? Hang on. I could do this. All right. Let's go to desktop. Does this work? Oh, I did that wrong. How do I make the brush? Can you guys see that? Okay, cool. Linked list, simply put, is just a data structure for managing data. So you're gonna have a node. Let me draw that a little better. You're gonna have a node, right? And this node is gonna contain data, right? So you're gonna have whatever data you decide to put here. This node also contains a pointer. And what does that node point to? It has the potential to point to another node, which can also contain a packet of data and can also have a pointer. So a linked list is literally a linked set of data nodes. And it's just a data structure that is decent at inserting and removing from the middle of the data structure without having to shift other data around. Now, that being said, it's potentially one of the worst data structures you could ever use. And at least in my experience, it's not a data structure I have ever used, professionally speaking. It's just something I've done with learning purposes, practicing, that kind of thing. So if you think about an array is a contiguous block of memory. So if you had to remove an element from that array, you have to essentially to keep that array like pristine, if you will, you essentially have to copy the leftover array elements into a new array. Or if you're using like a vector or a dynamic array, then it's a copy to shift elements so that they stay contiguous, because that's what an array is, right? It's a contiguous block of memory. There's obviously tricks around this when you're using dynamic arrays, but generally speaking, that's what it is. So if that is ever an issue for performance reasons for whatever application you're writing, maybe a linked list might get you what you need. But like I said, the problem is contiguous memory fits in a CPU cache so much better than anything a linked list can do, because you can have nodes that point to nodes that like are still sitting in RAM, right? Which is like one of the slowest operations you could possibly do with a process, is to have to like continuously reach back out to RAM in order to get the next block of memory that you're pointing to. Whereas a contiguous array, it can just stay in your cache. And so even if you're having to copy it and iterate on it and remove elements, it could still be potentially faster than anything a linked list could ever give you. Yes, every link has a memory address and a pointer, and then there's doubly linked lists where the node could point back to its previous owner, or like the previous node, so you can go bidirectional. And I think C++ has it. I think they have like a standard list or something like that. That's what I'm telling you. Like, I have never had to use it, and I'm pretty sure it's like a doubly linked list implemented under the hood, something like that. Oh, I just saw your question, Zico. How long did it take me to learn? Well, it depends what you mean by how long and what you mean by learnt, right? Because you are actively watching me learn. And I've been doing this for 15 years, at least. But I would say, how long did it take me to feel proficient enough that I could just be like, hey, I have a project idea, I'm going to go do it, right? As compared to, oh man, I have an idea I want to do, but I gotta read through all these tutorials, I gotta pull open all these books, so on and so forth. I would say realistically for me, to be proficient enough to lead a team, for instance, and be able to provide knowledge to them, it probably took me at least 4 years of full-time employment plus working or learning outside of work. I would say 2 years of full-time got me to a point of being fairly comfortable writing any kind of C++ in general. But you got to remember, C++ compared to other languages is complex. So they're like, if you go to my YouTube short and see some of the comments, rightfully, there are arguments like, man, this is insane that you need to know the rule of 5, right? But there's a reason something like the rule of 5 exists. There is a purpose. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist, right? Because over the years, C++ developers have learned about all these different gotchas that this language has introduced. And so they have collated into this giant master list of how to write better C++. And that is called, I can just pull it up for you guys. The C++ Core Guidelines by the guy who invented C++ and a very prolific engineer in the C++ world who has like a lot of influence on how C++ is written today, Herb Sutter. And he has awesome articles and like little problems of the week challenges he used to do back in the day. But this is kind of like this is all of the stuff about C++ that you should avoid and how to avoid it and better ways to do it. But look at this. Like, you can't expect to know all of this at any time. And I don't know all of it. So what do? I do the best that I can. And I also use something called Clang Tidy. So Clang Tidy is a static analysis tool from LLVM, the people who implement Clang. And in my software pipelines, it will scan my code for all those CPP core guidelines and make sure that I'm adhering to them. And if I'm not, I get compile errors and I go back and fix them. First time here, what do you do here? Well, I am finding my way. That's what I do here. Some C++. I have streamed a little bit of Flutter and Dart development. I have played a couple of video games. And anything in between. Maybe someday I'll do a cooking stream, become a cooking streamer, because I do like to do meal prep sometimes. Who knows? But for now, a lot of interest is showing up from my YouTube short or shorts about programming. So I am doing programming at the moment. Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you about C++ at all. I also would say if you're ever interested in building like a cross-platform application with a programming language, C++ is a tough sell. Like, it took me a lot of effort to get this application that we're looking at right here to work on Windows, Linux, Mac, WebAssembly, Android. Whereas I'm like some languages, they just work on all the platforms out of the box. So, you know, there's definitely easiers. No, I don't lift. Meal prep to help just to stay relatively healthier than normal, I guess. I'm not the healthiest by any means, but I meal prep just to keep my sanity. Because otherwise I'll just eat junk. It's too easy to eat junk. Cooking stream in C++? How cool would that be? How would we even do that? I've come up with like recipes over the years myself just from experimenting, and I try to make like high fiber, good protein, good carbs, just to keep my hunger satiated, if you will. I don't know what's going on. Oh. Okay. We can kind of see something there. Okay, so the real problem right now is the zoom is scaling my sprite. So I need to counter zoom. So I want to, for now, temporarily, I'll pass in my zoom value. And see if I can counter zoom. No, I don't draw, unfortunately. I've tried to. I did I drew in school. I took a drawing class in school. And then like on a computer I don't draw. I don't like has any of you guys ever tried to do like pixel art tutorials? So I have a video game idea that I really want to do, but I think the scope of it is much larger than the scope of this project I'm looking at, and it's going to require like a really good pixel artist, you know? But the scope of the project I want to do is probably too big for me to do unless I could work on it full time. And, you know, I still work an 8-hour day every day, trying to make it big as a streamer. Maybe someday if I can stream full time, then maybe that would be an opportunity to work on it. But anyone here like Dungeons and Dragons? Or at least know what it is? Okay, I think that's working. Is that working? I think it is working. I think we're just too close together. Ooh, we got my daily ViewBot ad. Hang on. Ooh, from Russia even. So in Dungeons and Dragons, there is a spellcaster, a wizard, or even a cleric that is capable of like raising the dead. It's an RPG game, right? It's a tabletop RPG game. So I've always wanted to do like a Stardew Valley like game. Now that's already a count against the game, right? Because so many people make Stardew Valley clones these days, and I'm already behind the ball. By the time I could complete a game of that scope, like everyone would have already moved on. But I like the idea of a retired necromancer. So it's like you were this super adventurer who has seen all kinds of things, who's been through a bunch of shit, and he's retired. And he's retired to live on a farm. But he still uses his necromantic powers to like manage the farm. Maybe he can raise the dead to tend to his fields, you know, kind of turn it into an automation thing. Maybe he likes the town he settled near, and the town is under attack, so you still get to use your like your D&D spell abilities to defend the town from under attack. Maybe your charisma is high and you can like convince some unsuspecting townfolk to come back to your house and fix an issue you have, and then the next thing you know, the town hasn't seen their townsfolk in a minute, you know, that kind of thing. So I don't know. That's gonna be a minute. I don't know what that's gonna look like yet, but it's definitely an idea I've had. Okay, so I think this is actually working. We just can't really see it right now because they're still kind of too close together. So I'm gonna spread them apart, make them like kilometers away. Oh, I didn't have to recompile. I can just change that. Woo! Oh, I'm scaling everything else I'm drawing too. Oh man. Okay, I don't know if that's gonna work. Because that's also, if I do that, that's going to affect my UI too. All right, so I will have to go back to my solution I used to do and not just, like, I'll still use the camera to follow the player, but I'm gonna have to do a different solution for scaling. Not the townsfolk. Well, see, like, you could be a good necromancer. Maybe you're only like raising the dead from graveyards or something, and then you can like convince the townsfolk that your animated guy belongs there, and you know, oh, maybe you send your animated dead as like a vendor, and they manage a stall for to sell and trade goods, you know, that kind of thing. So, but basically, like a necromancer, you raise stuff to automate your game world, and then you could still use your powers to like defend the game. And then I also thought from like the perspective of difficulty, if you like difficulty, maybe during like defending your farm or defending the town, you have a level in the game, right? And maybe you retired as a level 20 necromancer who is like all powerful and could do anything. Okay, that's fine. That's easy mode, right? You retired at a high level. Maybe you retire at a low level. Maybe you retire at like level 3. Maybe you went on an adventure, saw some really bad things happen to your party, and like, that's it, I'm out. And so the only spell you know how to do is raise one level, like raise one necromancer, or like one skeleton or one undead. But the problem is at level 3, it's going to be really hard to convince the townsfolk that that undead is a real person. And so maybe you have to like have additional challenges to navigate the town and the farm, stuff like that. But like I said, like these ideas are just like so large in scope that like a single developer that's already working 40 hours a week, I don't have enough time to do that. All right, I'll be right back. I need to use the bathroom. The zoom thing isn't going to work because the camera does scale everything, not just the entities. Even if I counter scale, I would have to counter scale every single thing I draw. The easier solution will be to just do what I used to do, which is apply the zoom factor to just position and call it a day, and only on the things I care about. But I'll be right back. So because of the zoom, I think this is going to have to live on the world object. Let me try and move them a little closer. I think. Okay, let me move them. I wonder if my zoom step is still too large. It might be. If key up, if key down. Oh, this might be, you know what? Let's get rid of that. I just want to see if this works. Something ain't right. Oh. Maybe that's it. Perfect. Okay. All right. So how do I want to do this? What's the what was the default state? I want to get the other player on screen. So this guy is what, like 600 by 600? 300 by 600. 300's all the way over there? Is that right? Oh, no, he's 300 by 300. Okay. 600. So I need to move this guy up. Let's move him up to like 100. Okay. So now I see them. Is that right? This is saying he is 100 pixels down from the top. But this guy is 300 pixels down from the top? I don't think I have anything changing their position right now, so let me take a look. Let's do this. Makes it a little easier to debug when I don't have to do the math in my head. And then I can put a breakpoint here to see if my assumptions are correct. Middle is 0, 0. Yeah. Oh, you are so much smarter than me. I forgot that my player is the camera is focused on the player. Thank you. That is exactly, you are exactly right. Yes, these positions are relative to 0, 0, not top left of the screen. Gosh darn it. I'm glad you're here. I would have been stuck on that because I completely forgot I had this camera running. But yes, these guys are now relative to the center, which is where this guy is. Now, for an aircraft, it's going to point north the whole time, and then the world is going to rotate around him. So if I'm going to turn left, that means the world needs to rotate left, the camera needs to rotate right. So I think the camera has a rotation, which I can assign to player.heading. Does Raylib use radians, I assume? Degrees, perfect. And then I think it needs to be the opposite. So if this works, we should see the player facing upwards. And everything else rotated around the player, including the frame rate. That's awesome. What's the game going to be about? It's going to be about a tactical shooter, not a tactical shooter, a tactical situation top-down aircraft fighter game. Probably more along the lines of like a roguelite or an RPG. I have already started something in Godot, but I am porting it over to C++ for a couple of reasons, none of which are good reasons to move over from Godot. So if you're like looking for advice on building a game, I would say just stick with Godot. This is kind of more for fun. But yeah, it's going to be that. And so I am picturing at least 4 playable aircraft classes with abilities. You're going to have like your maneuverable fighter who's able to like do medium to short range combat, up close, use bullets. I imagine that's going to be more like a bullet hell type of class. A bomber who's going to be more like medium to long range is going to have a massive amount of artillery, different types of weapons and abilities to shoot at enemies. I'm picturing almost like a cluster of drones as another aircraft. So it's going to be like amorphous and be able to change shape. And if something were to like hit your drones, maybe you only lose a couple of drones versus losing all of them. And I'm picturing that. And then this might be outside of the scope of a solo developer for me. But I like the idea of having control of all 4 of them in an RPG format, kind of like Baldur's Gate 3. Any Baldur's Gate 3 fans? And I could picture like the drone class being able to expand around the rest of the players to protect them and like fly around them and eat up missiles being fired at them, that kind of thing. So we'll see. Right now, it's just kind of playing around. All right, so I am actively turning right, and it looks like I am turning right. And everything that Raylib renders is also getting translated. So I will have to figure out how to prevent that from happening because I eventually want to render the UI. Oh, it's the begin and end of the camera, isn't it? Okay, let's fix that real quick. So I need to move these guys. Begin mode, end mode. So that's kind of cool. So this almost becomes like the simulation world. This is like the game world, and then this becomes UI. Oh man, if that's the case, maybe I could go back to using the zoom and counter zoom. I don't know. It might still be better to just have manual data control of it. Oh, there we go. Now it stays. Okay. All right. So yeah, right, left, right. Cool. That's what I wanted. All right. That's promising. Take care, Mega. You probably already left, but I appreciate you stopping by. Sorry I missed you. Okay. So now that I've figured that out, I kind of want to render range rings. Hey, Devtron. How's it going? Which really needs to be like an arc. I don't know if Raylib has that. Take care, Mega. Yeah, I think C++ is slowly becoming the programming language of the ancients. Not that I'm ancient. But there's new stuff coming out, so it'll still keep coming. Draw circle. So there's a draw circle. But I kind of want to... Is it a filled circle? Draw sector. Draw lines. I might have to build the circle myself. Let me check that again. Oh, maybe it is circle lines. Can I specify? I can specify a radius, but can I specify a thickness? Oh. Ooh, is this what I need? Draw ring. That might be what I want. Take care. Thanks for thanks for the debugging help. You saved me a few minutes there. Thanks for stopping by too. I really appreciate it. I think okay, so if draw ring is doing what I think it does, this might be what I want. Oh, banner. Where's it getting that from? Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of a AI hack here and see how well it does. Because I need to draw this ring at the center of my screen. Draw ring at, which is width and height divided by 2, at center of display at 80%. Ooh. With radius 40. I want the entire ring to be 80% of the height of the display. So I want the radius to be 40, yeah, 40% of the height of the window with a line thickness of 4. There needs to be a gap from... Okay, so 0 degrees north, I want a gap like right here along the ring. So this is going to be like, if this is 30 degrees, I want like 10 degrees this way, 10 degrees this way. So 20 and 40. Okay, I want a gap. I want a 20-degree gap at 30 degrees between the start and end point. Color the ring white. Let's see what happens. Yeah. Yeah, people still use Fortran. I used a little bit of Fortran earlier in my career. I had to integrate a Fortran library and link it against a C++ project back in the day. It's still around. Ooh. Okay. So what did this do? Inner radius, outer radius, starting angle, end angle, white, 100 segments. For a full circle, I feel like is 100 segments too much? Oh, that is a massive gap. It's not quite, that's not a 30-degree gap. That's a range ring. Is that range ring too thick? So I wonder if I have to... Oh, wait a minute. I wonder... I don't know where Raylib thinks 0 degrees is. Maybe I have to shift something. Because if it thinks the starting angle of 30 degrees, if this is 0 and we go down, this is 30 degrees. So if I go 0 and go up, 50 degrees, can I say negative 50? Will that work? Okay, let's test this out. So if I start at 10 degrees and I go 20 degrees. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So I need to subtract 90. In order to put this into my north is up. There we go. Okay. Except I want the starting angle to be 30, 20. I want it to be 20. And the end angle to be 20, 30, 40. Okay, so that's too big. So I need to bring it in. So 25, 35. That's better. So this is where our range label is going to go. So now I need to invert this. So I need to start at 35 and end at 25. So will it let me do that? I feel like it might not. Yeah, it didn't. So I need to do... I'm hoping... I might have to just implement this myself. Start outer starting. I need to invert this ring. Currently, it renders an arc from start to end, but I need it to go into start. I tried swapping, but that produced the same result. I also think there might be, maybe I just need to convert it to all positive angles. I'm curious if that's what it'll do. Yeah, it's adding 360. Positive angles. See if that actually works. There we go. All right. So that's the outer ring. So now I need an inner ring with a radius of that is 50 or yeah, 50%. Okay. So I'll have to get this fixed so that the arc length stays the same. I've already implemented this in Godot. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's basically calculating the arc length and making sure that stays the same to change what the start and end angle is going to be. But this will leave a gap for me to put some text in here to represent the range of what is being rendered. And then I can step in, step out. Cool. I think I can rotate. Okay. So that's looking good. So I want to come up with a way to handle defining all of this and rendering it all. So I'm going to have world state. I probably want something for UI state. I think that would be the easiest thing to do. So like, if anyone's still here and paying attention, this isn't typically how I would use C++ per se. I am trying to keep it relatively simple, not using nearly as many pointers as I would use, not using polymorphism, things like that. Just because. But if I was doing polymorphism, this might be where I would implement a drawable with a virtual function called draw, and inside that draw function, define how I would draw this. And maybe I do that for UI, maybe I don't. Another approach is just using data structs that define how these things could be drawn. And I could honestly, I could probably create almost like a list of drawable structs stored in a variant, submit that list to a draw step, and then it would just iterate over what's being drawn. I could do that. Not sure what I want to do with that yet. Oh, when I zoom in and out, the camera doesn't follow me anymore. Okay, so I almost need to apply the zoom to the entity's positions. Right. Oh, well, I need to not apply it to my players. What I need to not do. Oh man, how do you in C++, how do we enumerate? Is it, oh man, I don't remember. Standard enumerate. No, enumerate ranges. Views. So it's under the ranges API. I do standard views enumerate. That's what I want under the ranges. Enum level, low, medium, high. I appreciate it. That's not quite what I meant by enumerate. All right, so that should prevent, there we go. In C++23, they now have a way for inside your range for loop to get access to your index because it'll enumerate every time you iterate. So basically keep count for you. So this is me basically turning right the whole time while I zoom in. Cool. Oh, the this thing right here. Yeah, that's called a range for loop. And then this piece here, oh man, I forget what this is actually called. This is called like a is it an aggregate? C++ aggregate initial. No, aggregate initialization is where you pass it in. to the no, what is that called? Oh, that's gonna drive me crazy. I used to know what that was called. It's called like, is it? It's not a capture group, is it? That's a Lambda thing. Oh no, that's regex. Wait a minute. What is it called when in C++ when you can capture multiple variables? Holy crap, this is going to drive me insane. I knew what this was called. But yeah, so this is called something else, but you're able to enumerate returns something crazy. And this is when it gets really crazy because you can like, you could just start chaining all these range filters together, these range views together to create new data. But yeah, I don't remember what it's called, but this is called something special that you could also look up. Shows you how much I get to use this. All right, so I don't want to apply zoom to my player. I just want to apply it to my entities. All that's going to have to change once I start cleaning up this code. Draw check marks. Curious what this will do. It might be worthwhile for me to start thinking about implementing actual classes because I'm going to have to handle, especially for UI, I'm going to have to handle a lot of like translation, rotation, um, nested. Yeah, that didn't work. We're trying to draw two triangles to create a rectangle. We have a tick count, tick length, tick width, tick count. So we're doing 12. We calculate the heading. Wait. Calculate. That doesn't. Angle radians. First time I did a breakout clone, collision detection almost broke me. Could not figure out why my ball sometimes went through bricks. Turns out I did the collision check after the move. Oh no! Yeah. Yeah, collision is so tricky to get right. Yeah, I'm always impressed by like so I play a game called Rocket League, which has like I don't know, its physics engine is fantastic, I think, personally. Especially when you can play it over the internet competitively at a fast pace and not end up with a significant amount of like collision issues just blows my mind. But collision's tricky because like depending on how fast you're processing, how fast something is moving, you're right. You could be like here, right? And then on the next frame, so you haven't collided yet, but then on the next frame, you're over here and you're already past the check, right? So you have like there's nothing to collide. And so a lot of the times, I think Box 2D is a fairly old but like well-known physics library. It does stuff like where it will do many iterations between frames. So like you're here and then you're here and then it just like it'll get really close and all of that's configurable. But collision's nuts. Hey Rima, how's it going? I'm trying to draw a tactical display with tick marks, but the current implementation doesn't seem to be drawing correctly. See line 203 for the start of this implementation. You guys are witnessing me being really lazy and not wanting to do any math tonight. I'm exhausted. Probably just play a video game when I'm like this. So tomorrow I'm not going to be on. I'm going to see a movie called what is it? Project Hail Mary. Is it Hail Mary? Is that what it's called? Project Hail Mary with Ryan Gosling. So that looks interesting. I've heard that movie's really good. So Thursday I might take a rest day and play a video game of some kind. I don't know what. If I can't think of something, it'll probably just be a continuation of my honor mode in Baldur's Gate 3. And then Friday, I'll probably hopefully have a fresh mind and start getting some real coding done. So currently, what I've been doing is just playing around with Raylib, trying to get a feel for the land, figure out what it's capable of. I'm starting to get an idea of how I want to architect my game as a whole. I was thinking of doing it the way I've been doing it, which is like the data struct way, cache coherent. But from the ease of configuration and productivity, it might be more feasible for me to do the old-fashioned object-oriented way, at least somewhat, to get some stuff up and running. Because I don't expect this game to be that big. But it's something I've been thinking of and tinkering with, so we'll see. I could always just completely cheat and swap over to Qt and just have all the rendering logic done for me. Hey, there we go. Okay. So we're getting there. So if I turn... Yeah. No. No, that's not... That's turning the wrong direction. Let's give that a negative. And my rectangles are also drawn incorrectly. Yeah, there we go. Okay. It's starting to look like a tactical situation display. Very, very, very slowly. Congrats, I'm slowly turning into a vibe coder. Yeah, I'm getting there. As long as I can like keep everything organized and architected the way I want it to, I shouldn't have to be like, hey, I just want an application, go, and then have no idea what it's doing under the hood. I'm okay with using it to like figure things out, also to just do the math for me. Oh, Project Hail Mary was a book? I don't think I knew that. Okay. Trick straddles the ring line at mid R, which is not what I want. The outer ring. Is that actually? I don't think this is what I want. Mid R times 50%. I might have to look that up. I don't know, I haven't done too much on like agentic coding itself. Like what you're seeing me use AI for is kind of what I use it professionally, especially like for debugging purposes, where if there's like a really complicated esoteric like crash or something like that, or really more for like configuration and things like that, it's a lot easier for me to just be like, hey, go find the problem, tell me what it is, and then I will let you know how I want to fix it. Okay, yeah, I do like math and science. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. Okay, so this guy is drawing past. Maybe I'm misunderstanding because ring radius is 40% of my window height. -4 should get me to the inner edge. So I want the outer value. I almost wonder if... Yeah, I think it just needs to be mid-R. I don't even think I need the tick length here. I think it just needs to be mid-R. And I probably just need the tick length to be longer, not half. Yeah, I think that's it. There we go. That's what I needed. Cool. All right. All right. Now I want to add text that represent the angles in degrees of each tick. Actually, I don't even think I need to do that. I'm being lazy. I really need to do... I draw the lines, so now I just need to, like, draw text. All right. We are converting I times 5. Why did it try to do I times 5? It should be 360 divided by I, so that's clearly wrong. Ooh, but we're starting at 0. It should be 12 divided by 360, or it should be I times 12 divided by 360. Or that, if I could do math. Inner... Oh, what is this inner? So that's the inner length with a... Okay, so this... I suspect you can't really do... I don't think you can really do that. We have to subtract 10 from the radius itself. Well, at least make sure the text is rendering. It is. And yeah, it's not centered. We are going to have to calculate like the different vector components. So to find the X and Y position for my text, I actually need to do vector to text position. And it's trying to do inner minus the tick length, minus half the tick length. I'm okay with that. It's better than nothing. So I don't need this. Also, like from the AI perspective of coding, another thing that's kind of nice is it just saves on typing. So sometimes you know exactly what you're going to type, and a lot of the times what you're typing is based on the context of your code base. So like when you start to type it, the LLM can figure out that context and then just like auto generate a stub for you. It's like the little things like that where it's like, oh man, I'm gonna have to type it, but it's like, oh, it's done. Okay. So that looks a little better. We're still not centered correctly. And it might be because text is drawn from the top left corner and not its center. So I might have to shift it by its width. Let's move it further out. So let's just do... I guess 80% of its length. Yeah, the autocomplete is really nice. Yeah, so it's, and we can probably see it once 240 is up top. That's still probably kind of hard to see for everyone. I'll make it bigger at some point. But we're drawing in the top left corner. And I don't know if Raylib supports... Another thing that's useful about AI is like when there's a solution I know I want, I can ask, does Raylib support drawing text from the center? Currently, this text is drawn from the top left corner. So I'm wondering if it needs to do like a measure text. Yep. Measure text right there. So like stuff I know already exists as a way to solve the problem, I can use AI to just like do it for me. Save me a couple steps. Look at that. All right, that's looking a lot cleaner. That's looking like an aircraft display. I'll eventually want to, like, where this 90 degrees is and this gap is, I'll eventually want to be like, hey, don't draw that there. Because that's where some text is going to go. So now I can see, like, oh, hey, the green player is 30 degrees past north. The red player is, like, 45 degrees. I'm not using Claude directly. I'm using GitHub Copilot. So I'm signed into GitHub, and that's how I do that. What am I coding? I am coding a top-down 2D tactical situation RPG / roguelite. The idea is to drop you into a scenario, an engagement scenario, where you have multiple enemies coming at you. You're going to have radar capability that helps you determine what those enemies are and what they might be doing to you. And so initially, you might not know what's going on. And so you're going to have to use your aircraft abilities to kind of determine, hey, there's something out there. Is that a good guy? Is that a bad guy? Is that a missile flying at my face? Oh, God, that's a missile flying at my face. And then, like, have to react to that kind of thing. This is very vague right now because the idea in my head is very vague. I have some more specific thoughts on this that I want to get sketched out first. But that's kind of where things are at. And I'm doing it in pure C++ mainly because I had a YouTube short go really popular about C++, and then people started showing up. So I'm like, you know what? Let's write some C++. We'll see where this goes. I don't make any guarantees. And I'm also interested in doing other coding projects, trying other things out. Everyone tries Rust. Maybe I'll try Rust someday. I don't know. I also have a Flutter project that I work on every now and then every once in a while I'll probably play a video game, which will probably be this Thursday. Mainly because I need to give my brain a rest. I don't know about you guys. Sounds like some of you are in school. I will say this. Personally, from my experience, I think if you can land like an internship or something and you're going to class, that's probably going to be the most difficult time of your career because one, you got to stay focused on school, and two, especially if you need to pay bills, you got to stay focused on work so you can keep your job. Like that's a really hard, like that was one of the hardest portions of my career. These days, after working 8 hours, you're constantly thinking, you're constantly problem solving, and sometimes you're just typing away, and then hopping on stream to do it again. It gets a little exhausting. I do have, if you want, I can at least show you a preview somewhat of what a slightly built up version of this looks like. Let me hop over to my desktop here. Because I do have a prototype in Godot that I got wired up. Let me close this. Oh, my face is in the way, isn't it? Right? So you can kind of see, like, oh, there's only 2 enemies out there, you know?
Oh, there's 3 enemies. Oh, I need to fire at these guys. Launch missiles. Oh god, there's a 4th enemy. I need to get out of here. They're shooting at me. We gotta go. Oh, who the hell is that? Is that a boss? I gotta fire a missile at him. I gotta keep going, right? And this is about all I have implemented right now. So I'm turning and I am moving, right? I'm moving. So I think part of what's missing here is a sense of motion. Get to like, I think I want to put like obstacles and stuff you can maybe like maneuver behind to defend yourself against missiles flying at you. Assuming these missiles hit, the boss has more health than the regular enemies. So the regular enemies should die. I'm trying to not die to this missile because I want to show off what the boss can do. And then you can see on the right, I've like, I expect you to have like some stats that will affect your aircraft capabilities. And then, and this is down here is very, very rough drawing. But potentially having like aircraft loadouts with different capabilities. You would have spells, but those spells would be like different weapons or defensive abilities that you would have. And I'm going to slow my aircraft down here, and then you can like range in and range out, so you can like see further out, see what else is out there. Especially if you have like an aircraft that has the ability to shoot longer range weapons, you'll be able to zoom further out and see them and shoot at them further before they get to you, kind of thing. Now, they obviously are going to have their own abilities to counter you. And then, you know, there's always a thought of like PvP, being able to have an aerial combat with someone, or have like a defend the base scenario. All right, so I have slowed my aircraft down. I want this this guy down here eventually should come up to me, and when he gets around this like 20-kilometer range, he has his own special weapon to fire at me with. Oh no, you're watching vertically. Ah, dang it. Stand by. I might be able to get it in time. I'm sorry, I'm not used to showing off the vertical. What's the best way to do this? Will this work? Nope, that doesn't work. Will this work? Crap. I'm still learning how to be a streamer. I apologize. I need to hire someone to just manage my streams. Let's see here. Godot. Does this work? Crap, that doesn't work. What else can I do for you? How else can I do this? Hang on. I'll just launch the game directly. I don't need to launch it through Godot. I will show this off to you, I promise. Ooh, will I? Did I just lie to you? Do I not have it built? Hang on. Hang on. How about now? I think you see it, right? You see some of it? All right, you don't really need to see the right side. That's just dummy data. But anyway, like I was saying, you could have enemies out there. Oh, he just shot a missile at me, so I need to go shoot a missile at him. Oh, he's shooting a missile. I need to hightail it out of here because they're coming at me. And who is that? There's a boss. There is literally a boss. And now I gotta, okay, I can zoom in to see like what's coming my way. I can zoom out to see what's further out. I have radar that can see, oh, and the boss is shooting a laser at me. Oh, can I dodge? I dodged. Okay, so we're doing good so far. But so you can kind of imagine, maybe you can imagine, different enemies with different abilities, maybe setting up different boss fights with different types of engagements, maybe having the ability to unlock hard mode by defeating a boss and not killing the enemies off, because that makes the fight more difficult. things like that. I might die here because I didn't turn away fast enough. I made the game too hard for me to show off as a demo. Yeah, so I can't move anymore. So I died. But that you get the gist of it. So that's kind of where things are at with that. Oh, my cat's here. Hey, what are you doing? So anyway, I prototyped that in Godot to try and get an idea on what I want to do. And now that I have that idea, I am porting some of it over to C++ to one, to stream C++ and talk about C++, and two, there's some stuff with Godot that I'm not a huge fan of that kind of makes things a pain in my butt just because I'm so comfortable writing C++. But if you're like a new person wanting to write a game, Godot is awesome. I mean, I think Godot is awesome. But I do want to see if I can make something in C++. That isn't like work. Work isn't nearly as fun. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. We'll see if it ever becomes anything. You know, it's still in its infancy, and making a game is really difficult. Programming is difficult, but like game design, making something fun, coming up with like AI logic, that's all tough and all like things I haven't done before. So it'll probably take some time. But this is what I have in C++, and so you can kind of start to see what it looks somewhat similar, sort of. But yeah, so that's kind of all I wanted to get done today. I wanted to try and get the camera up and running. I wanted to get a couple of range rings rendering just so I had an idea of what the logic would look like. So my next step here is I probably want to clean some of this up and make the main.cpp look a little cleaner, because right now I'm just dumping a bunch of code in here to get things working. I did end up adding toml configuration, so I am able to just come in here without having to recompile. I can just copy and paste an entity, make this guy a neutral, give him a new position. Let's make him to the left of me, so -200. And then I should be able to just launch my game again. And now I have another entity. So I got some serialization up and running. Where did I learn to code? That is a great question. So I started off on my own. Now, I grew up in the time of, as a kid, with AOL.com dial-up. So that meant like waiting for a parent to get off the phone and then asking permission, going on a computer, connecting, dial-up, you know, all that fun stuff. And so with the internet at the time, I had a graphing calculator, my older brother's older graphing calculator, because my older brother was into advanced math. And so I learned on that graphing calculator how to do basic programming. Like literally the language was called BASIC. And so I would create just little things, mostly like math equations and things like that. And I would go online, find people who like, you would literally go to a website that had just text upon text of code. And I had no way to load the code onto my graphing calculator. So I would literally, on the graphing calculator, type line by line all of the basic code and see and see the results of that. And then I would take that graphic calculator to math tests and use that to solve problems. So that's where I started. And then my parents recognizing my interest, I ended up in high school where they didn't really have any programming classes. I think they had one, which was Visual Basic. It might have been Basic and Visual Basic. But because my parents saw my interest, they signed me up for a couple of college classes while I was in high school, which didn't really do much. It was more design than programming. So then I went to college and learned C++. And like after I graduated college, my school stopped teaching C++ and started teaching languages like Java and Python, I think. And so during college, I managed to get an internship that just so happened to also be C++, and like the rest is history. So I got hired full time from that internship, and I learned a significant amount more on the job, which fueled my interest to learn more on my own, which fueled my interest to work on little projects like this, which, to be fair, most never see the light of day. They're just, I tinker, I try something, and like, oh, that's cool. And then maybe I learn something that I can apply to my job, right? So that's kind of the history, if you will, of what I've done. Yeah, the streaming streak begins, Joe. But I am probably going to be closing up shop here shortly. I just wanted to go over, kind of recap the past 2 days. So I implemented Toml serialization. I'm able to add entities just via text configuration, which should make it a little easier to get things wired in. So not dissimilar to how Godot does like GD script, except I'm not doing any logic. I'm literally just listing things here so that they pop up in the game, if you will. I don't know when it's on the to-do list, but another thing I would like to do is implement a file watcher, which will sit there and observe basically this entire directory. And anytime a file changes in this directory, I want to be able to automatically like load, probably on a different thread, automatically load the database files, the Toml configuration, and then kind of do a comparison of the live game data. And if anything is different, load the new data in, because then I would be able to, while this application is running, effectively hot reload by adding new entities and be able to test things out, test scenarios out, change values, that kind of thing, which would also help for debugging purposes. But that's kind of where things are at. I got the range rings up today, mostly from playing around with Raylib. It's all in main.cpp. I want to clean this up. I might go the object-oriented route, or at least an object-oriented light route, to at least for the UI to handle like a scene graph situation, be able to automatically handle drawing nested UI elements, so that I can do things like attach something to the end of an aircraft, like a particle effect, right? A particle emitter, versus having to manually calculate all the math over and over again. So I'm gonna consider that. I'm also going to consider maybe like a core object type to handle serialization, just for the ease of extensibility and development. These concepts aren't necessarily the way to go for all problems, but I don't think my game is going to be complex enough that I need to worry about cache coherency or anything like that. We're talking maybe order of magnitude 100. I might do like a simulated for fun scenario of like 1,000 versus 1,000, that kind of thing. But we'll see. I got to think about it. I won't be streaming tomorrow. I'm going to go see that movie. Thursday, I'm really looking to just give my brain a mental rest. So I'm probably going to I'll be on, but I'll probably just be playing a video game or something like that. And then Friday, I'll probably get back to it, and we'll go from there. I just want to say thank you for those who come by. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you again. And until next time, take care.